us had a very interesting breakfast. And before we introduce Mr. Venkat and speak about the session, a little bit about the breakfast to ponder on. So I think, how many of you really found the breakfast different, more interesting, more tasty? So all thanks to Samir and Himali. Their cards are there on the table. They are very active members of TiE Mumbai and also mentees to Mr. Venkat Raman. And when I called up Mr. Venkat and I said, he is a lot into running and health. And as entrepreneurs, we realize we are always compromising on our health. Sorry, I got a bad throat today. So, health, exactly. So I think I took ill today. So the thing is, we realize that we overwork ourselves. We don't take enough rest. We hardly ever exercise, or there are very few who will really make that decision, trying to balance the work life. So we said that as entrepreneurs, can we do something on this side where we say that how do we start looking at our health so that we become better entrepreneurs, because better health will lead to more healthier entrepreneurship. Mr. Venkat himself has gone through surgery, open heart surgery, and post which he's still running marathons, and that was very inspiring every time we meet him. And I have to I still don't exercise, I still don't run. So it's a big inspiration. So we said, let's get more of our members inspired to do this. And maybe at some point we do some training sessions around marathons. We have marathons starting Jan, any which ways. So we can do something more. We can create a small group where we can start some sessions like these. So Samir and Himali are also going to be around, and if we all like this kind of breakfast, we can kind of continue, is what I was just telling Samir, that instead of, we can kind of switch our breakfast sessions to having healthier breakfast sessions. Mr. Venkat is a very active TiE charter member in terms of mentoring. So every month he gives out time mentoring entrepreneurs, and if you are, all of you get the mentoring requests. So please register yourself and you will be able to get connected with charter members like Mr. Venkat and others. And I'm sure all of you have gone through Mr. Venkat's profile. He's a serial entrepreneur, he's been there. And right now he's also doing a lot of these sessions which we are doing and requesting him to talk about today, which inspire people to start running. So over to you, Mr. Venkat.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning everybody, and thanks for coming.
Good morning.
As I was telling Hema, that if you like the breakfast, then you should thank them. Because it is they who supply the breakfast, and if you don't like it, you should blame me, because it is I who made the decision to serve this breakfast. So anyway, so before we take off, yes, I am a vegan, which means that I don't consume anything that comes from an animal. So no, I was always a vegetarian, so no eggs or milk, no paneer, no cheese, no butter, and no honey. These are typical vegetarian things that come from animals. So anyway, so thank you very much, and thanks for being here. This is this talk today is meant to inspire each one of you to get out from your sofa and run a 5 kilometer. So it's called Sofa to 5K. That's the theme, and that is the mission of my new startup. After I exited 2 startups, call it Kujli or call it Association, I have been to my 3rd startup, which is called You Too Can Run, and which is about, it's a social entrepreneurship startup, which is about making people run for good health. So the idea is to restore people to good health by running, and running has benefited me a lot, as you will see as we go down the presentation, and I'm hoping that at the end of the lecture, you all will also see the benefits of running, take up running and be healthy. You don't have to run marathons, you don't have to run this. Science says that if you run about 5 kilometers or 5 kilometers 1 or 2 times a week, 10 kilometers maybe once a week, then you are as healthy as you can be. Because incremental running after that doesn't yield incremental benefits in terms of health. Then we got to do the other things like eating right and stuff like that, which is why we began with a good breakfast today. So this is basically the story of my own story of how I cheated death, made amazing friends, grew my business very successfully, and I am living happily ever after. So basically this is the story, and we try to bring in running to my own life story. So one day, and it was on the 3rd of February 2007, I was woken up at about 5 a.m. and this is what was happening to me. I was lying on a cold metal bed and my entire body was being shaken. So this is a pretty traumatic experience for anybody, right, to get woken up. I was being prepared for my cardiac open heart bypass surgery, and I remember the date not because I wrote it here. I remember it even if you shake me up and wake me up and ask me my date, I will tell you that 2007, because the open heart bypass surgery is a pretty traumatic experience. So many ladies in the group will say, oh, it's like child delivery, It's a day that is etched in your memory, and you can never forget the day you deliver your child, because it's such a intense experience for ladies who are the mothers. So I tell them it's slightly, yes, it is a lot like that, but slightly more than that. Because after 2 or 3 years, the lady will say, let's have one more child. But nobody's going to say, let me have one more. So that is what was being happening to me. So why was this happening? I mean, the story should begin about 30 years before 2007. In the year 1930, my grandfather, my father's father, who is also called Venkatraman, the South Indians have this thing of naming the child after the grandfather. The grandfather has predeceased the child. He died when my father was 4 years old, so my father doesn't remember. My grandmother has told me that he was very healthy. He came back from the field one day and he died. So it was as sudden as that. In 1979, I was preparing for my CA studies. My father's colleague came back. My father was soaked in absolute, sweat. I mean, his bunion and his shirt was absolutely like a marathon runner. He was sweating, and he came up and he just couldn't even tell me what was happening. I put him in a taxi, rushed him to Nanavati. I was studying for my interCA at that time, and then we discovered that he had a cardiac arrest. So words like cholesterol, myocardial infarction, left ventricle, right ventricle, and all this vocabulary started added to my own vocabulary, and I came to know what heart disease was. In 1985, my father was also shaved. In those years, bypass surgery was not done in India, so Breach Candy was the only place where surgery was being done. So we took him to London. Fortunately, we could afford that, and we got him operated in London, and we came back from London. In 1985, there was a nutritionist who told us, what we should eat, what we should not eat. So my mother came back, coconut oil went out of the kitchen. The South Indians love coconut oil a lot. So coconut oil went out of the kitchen. Cakes and desserts were only once a month. So all those clean, healthy eating habits became part of our family because my father was a heart patient. In 1993, my brother, my late brother, Radha Krishnan was his name. He came up to the house one day, removed his t-shirt. It was about 9:30 in the evening. My mother was at home and died of a heart attack, age about 33. And it is so sudden. Okay. So how many here are above 40? Put up your hands. 40. Okay. So one of you, one out of 3 of you is going to die from a heart attack. Okay. So you may not like it, but that is a scary Indian statistics. Okay. How many of you are above 40? Again, one spot.
Ladies except.
Okay. Every alternate person is going to have diabetes. 1 out of 2 above 40 Indian is, we are the diabetes capital of the world. And we are going to have diabetes. Okay, so this is the statistic. We may all think, no, my hand doesn't count, but we are all statistics. So that's what happened to my brother. I was therefore very health conscious. All these things were known to me, and a lot of people say, oh, you are health conscious out of, whether you are motivated by, to be healthy by itself, or whether you are, motivated because of the fear of death, which was probably imminent if you didn't become healthy. But either way, I was always health conscious. In 97, when I turned 40, I took 40 of my friends, went to Hinduja one day and said, how many people do you book for an individual health checkup? He said, we take up to 40 on one day. I said, okay, 3 months from now, all 40 are mine. And I'm going to get 40 of my friends. And I got all 40 of my friends and I did a health checkup for everyone. Their wives loved it because after that they gave us smoking and they reduced their drinking and stuff like that happened. So I was always the guy who was like a health evangelist kind of person. And I was always going to a gym. I always had membership. I was always either doing some weight training, some treadmill, some cycling, trekking, some football on Sundays, some badminton. Always this is happening. And in 2002 I decided one day that I must run on the roads. We always go to the treadmill. We don't want this dirty roads, dogs, broken footpaths, and who's going to do all this? Go to the treadmill, look at the TV, have the air conditioner on, and run about 20 minutes, and then your cardio for the day is over, and go to the gym. So I thought that I stay in Kalina. I was going to MIG club, and I said that I will run that entire stretch of BKC road, which from one end to the other end is 3.5 kilometers. So I decided I must do that, and I thought that I must become fit enough to run 3.5 kilometers. So that was the dream. And that year I ran the dream run of Standard Chartered, because in 2002, 2003, January was the first Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon, and I came to the gym. I remember 2 days I ran about 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, and then I had registered for the 7 kilometers dream run segment, and I knew that I couldn't run more than 2-3 kilometers on my own. I was losing steam and I needed a group. I came out to a group, and in the MIG grounds there was a group headed by Dr. Ajay Karan, and he is my running guru, and I thought that he should be here today. And he trained us, and we ran the 7 kilometer dream run segment of Jan 2003. If you go to my blog, there's a blog Vaseline on your nipples. So there's a continuous series of posts, and I was so excited about running 7 kilometers, and I'm sure that it is very exciting even if you run 5 kilometers. So I made a long series of blog posts on why you have to apply Vaseline on your nipples when you run, because you get giddy. So since then I've graduated a long way, and I've been running 21 kilometers in all the other years. I ran half marathon till 2007 when I went into my surgery. So I never wanted to be this joke. Okay. So I was wearing a tie, but I was never obese. And I was always trim, I was always fit. Probably a few kgs, couple of kgs plus and minus this way and that way, but never like this. So a lot of people ask me, why do you run? People who don't run, today to some extent people understand that running is beneficial, running is healthy, and you should take up running. But there are many who still wonder, why should somebody run? And they can't see the benefits, or they say, no, yoga is enough, or cycling is enough, or I go for swimming once a week, or something like that. Or they will say that I go to the gym and do some workout. So these are the top reasons, and we'll go through these reasons one by one, and why I particularly like to run. And there can be many reasons why people run, but let's. This lady, obviously, she's come after a run. The projector doesn't do justice to her face, but she's come after a run. She's sweating, and you can see that she's flushed and she's, all pink in her cheeks, right? So we have this expression in the pink of health. So where did the term pink of health come from, and why pink of health? So what happens really is that when you run, your body is this amazing engine which actually grows capillaries all over your body. So if you take a Maruti 800 car, and if you ran it for number of kilometers, it's not going to become Maruti 1000, right? But your body will become a Maruti 1000, because the body, as it makes a demand, it regenerates capillaries to places which didn't have capillaries. So slowly these capillaries come on your face, and your facial skin is very light, and because of that the blood shows, and that is why you say pink of health. Ladies prefer to put some makeup which probably comes from a red beetle or something, and want to look healthy with mascara. But this is the natural way to be in the pink of health. Okay. For me it is particularly significant because when I went for my bypass surgery, they do this thing called angiogram, which is basically inject a dye and take a photograph to see how much blockages are there and where they can operate to. So in my LAD, left anterior descending artery, there was a 100% block. Okay, 100% block. So the left, for people who don't know, the left side of the heart is the more stronger part, because that is what pumps out the blood to the entire body. So it's much larger, and it needs more blood. So therefore there is a LAD artery which is there, and it goes into 2 branches. And at that branch there was a 100% block when I was feeling breathless when I was running. This 100% block happened because of whatever my genetic factor was and my diet, and though it was clean, healthy, exercising, but it had to happen, it happened. Okay. But what saved me, and that is why I say I cheated death, is that because I was running continuously and because I was always exercising, the collaterals developed. So as this artery was getting blocked and as the block was growing bigger and bigger, the body started developing arteries and blood vessels from the other sides to keep supplying my heart with adequate blood. So ultimately, when it came to 100% this, I started feeling angina, shortness of breath, and then I went for a checkup, and then I went into a surgery. Okay, if I had not been exercising, what would have happened to me is that my collaterals would not have developed, my block would have kept on going, and one day I would have been like my brother. My photograph would have been there, and my sons would have been putting her and That's a fact. It's a morbid fact, but that's a fact. Okay, so if there is one message that I want you all to take away from this, is that you are all raised your hands and I said 1 out of 3. So do you want to be that 1 out of 3 or not? So this is the only way to bypass bypasses. Okay, so this is what the body does. The body is a very amazing machine. There are other things. The low sugar, I asked about 1 out of every alternate person above 40 getting diabetes, low sugar. The reason we didn't serve white rice idlis today and we serve red rice idlis was because of the high fiber content, low glycemic index, and therefore is not, is diabetes friendly. Okay, so it improves flexibility. Lastly, it improves metabolic stress. So when you subject your body to a lot of running and stress, your body is used to metabolizing a lot of things. So it can handle metabolic stress. So even if you get an injury, even if you get a cold, your body can repair itself faster. Okay. So, and the last part, she's sweating, and I like to sweat, and a lot of people think that sweat is awful and dirty, and they have this very unhealthy approach to sweating. But I say that sweat cleans those parts of the body that soap cannot. Okay, soap and water can only do an external cleanse, but sweat can go at the cellular level and bring out the toxins that come into your system during the day, and sweat can really clean it. So basically, I like to run because it improves my health. It controls my weight. All of us know that 60% of the people who take up running, how many here don't want to lose weight? Don't want to lose weight. Good. One. You don't want to lose weight. Good. Okay. So even probably the most anorexic model today wants to lose weight. Okay. Okay. So if there is one thing, other than of course having a clean diet, it is running, because running can consume the most amount of calories as with this. It burns calories, it improves your basic metabolism rate, and what happens, the last point is that it improves your mitochondria density. So mitochondria are the cells in your body, they are in your muscle fiber that are actually like nuclear power reactors. So they take fat, they take glycogen, they take oxygen, and they burn it. So when I moved my hand, where did this energy come from? It came from somewhere in my body, right? So that happens at a cellular level. These cells are called mitochondria. The density of mitochondria increases, because just as the capillaries increase, your mitochondrial density increases. You have more fat burning engines in your body. So as you become leaner, you can eat more, and that's the best part of it. You can eat more and enjoy tastier food, and you can be a gourmet, a nutritional gourmet, as I like to call myself, not a glutton. And that's because the mitochondrial density increases and you can consume more. Also, when you run, your EPOC, that is your post-exercise oxygen consumption, keeps at a very high elevated level, which means that after you finish your run, your consumption doesn't just stop there. For a couple of hours after that, your body is still burning. And as the mitochondrial density increases, it keeps burning even through the night. So even your basic metabolism rate, even when I am standing here, I am probably burning more calories than you sitting there. Just because I have more density and more mitochondria there in my body. So I can enjoy that many more vegan chocolates. The cartoon says, Mr. Stevens, I had 4 cups of coffee and I'm still sluggish. Would you have this ability to bring me in the taser? The taser is something that they used to give an electric shock. So that is what the executive said. Basically, it improves my energy level. And we know that less weight, you become more this. It improves aerobic capacity. You have more oxygen suffused in your body. And this oxygen is giving you energy at a very cellular level. It fights aging, it improves your sleep, so you feel more rested. So because you ran, obviously you get tired, obviously you sleep faster, you sleep better, you sleep deeper. Even if you sleep for 6 hours, you have to get up, you have had a very nice deep sleep. You have not had a sleep that you have been tossing and turning around with this. And lastly, it fights aging, because as you age, your body starts slowing down. So because of running, you are able to keep your body more active and you can be as fit as you can be at that age. I will be explaining more on this point. Basically, the amount of benefit that it does to your brain is immense. We think of the body and we think of running only from a physical level. We don't think of it from a mental level. But the brain sits in the same body, it's in the same structure. And it's deeply connected by the spinal cord and the sensory organs and even our emotions and everything, all your state, your brain and your body is connected. But we tend to take this very divisive view as if, our fat is different and our brain is different. And our, metabolism is different and our, emotional state is different. But all of them are interconnected into one system. At very basic level, there is more oxygen, there is more glucose. Now, many of you know that, probably many of you are not feeling very active because you didn't have your tea. Okay? And because there was no coffee, which needed you to get perked up. One of the reasons why you start dulling down during the day is when you run low on food, you run low on glucose, you get into what is known as hypoglycemia, that is running low on sugar, and you run low on oxygen. So you start feeling dull during the day, and then you go and eat something, then you get perked up, you get a sugar high. So basically, by running, you are metabolizing sugar all the time. So there is a higher amount of sugar that is coming out of your body in your bloodstream, and that goes into your brain. So your brain gets a very steady supply of sugar during the course of the entire day. So whether you are having a staff meeting with your team in the morning, or whether you are meeting with a vendor in the evening and having a difficult discussion, you are still at that steady state. You don't feel tired, when you are sitting with the vendor. There is more capitalization in the brain, so more neural networks get activated, so you become more, all the benefits. It improves cognition, and lastly, you can solve problems without a mental clutter. Your thinking becomes sharper. You are able to connect point 1 to point 2 to point 3 to point 4 and not forget point 1 when you came to point 5. Sorry.
What's cognition?
Cognition is the ability to comprehend, the ability to understand, ability to to grasp them. So that's it. So basically that is how it helps, and I will come to this in detail. It reduces stress. So we have this during this entire day we have this structure around us. Okay. So we get up in the morning, we are either parents or we are mothers, child has to go to school, then after that you have to get to your business, you have to come to a meeting, you have to be dressed formally, then after that you are already late for work, you are on the phone as you get into the car and catching up on your email or stuff, you reach your office, there are 10 things in front of you, 2 emails have come which have to be answered. So the whole day is a structure that you have built around yourself, a structure of commitments. Nowhere during the day do you really do things without any structure, or you don't do things for yourself. There is no me time, most of the time. when I run, I don't take my phone. I see a lot of people who run, and I know people who run the marathon, and I remember this particular incident. This fellow was running the marathon, and talking to the guy, "Wow, pizza mangao je." Oh, I was begging. That's the last thing I would do. So I leave my phone at home, and I run without my phone. When I come back, whatever is there. Slowly people around me know, जो सबेरे किधर भागने को गया रहेगा, तो फोन में मिलेगा नहीं, तो इसको 8 बजे के बाद ही पकड़ सकता है. So they know it, and then the society accepts you because in the morning till 8 o'clock you are not available on your phone. So life becomes like that. Okay, so it basically releases what are known as endorphins, which are your happy hormones. Okay, so it releases a lot of endorphins. Endorphins are the same thing that get released when you have a drink, for example. Okay, or you smoke. So I say that good habits are as easy to form as bad habits. So take up running, form a good habit, get your endorphin kick, feel nice about it. Don't go to the bar and drink in the night. Okay, and for me it's like meditation. So when you're running, there are two ways to run. One is put your headphones on, which is what many people see, and listen to the music and run, which is called disassociative running. That is, you don't be mentally associated with your running. And the other is associative running, which is when you run, you try to focus on your running and try to see how you are performing and be in the zone. So I like to, both are alright, but I like to be associative in my running, and I like to be aware of my surroundings. And headphones are alright if you are running in a park or somewhere close, but if you are running on the roads, you better not wear headphones and so on. So it's like meditation. So I'm not thinking of anything, I'm only thinking of one thing, which is how I am running. There's a certain primal joy. The most basic thing that a man can do is go from one distance to the other, go from point A to point B. And today we have got trains and buses and cars that have even taken away this joy. But the earliest way in which man moved around was by walking or running. If you wanted to go fast, you would run. If you were chasing something, you would run, or if something was chasing him, you would run, and otherwise you would walk to the place. So there is a very primal joy in getting out from here and being able to run up to, say, Chowpatty. There's a certain joy, I ran up to Chowpatty from here, or whatever, I ran up to Maharashtra Race Course from there. So there's a certain primal joy in getting that. It's a very primal sense of having built your own body without any support, just a pair of shoes and some clothes, and going from point A to point B. So it gives you that primal joy. And lastly, it's the self-time. So you get to spend time on yourself. Every day when I run, I think of all my business problems. I think of what can I do, and maybe often I have found that my solutions have come when I run. Okay. It is a great sense of achievement. So many of you are now employers. Many of you have been employees in the past. So imagine the scenario: you are sitting for a performance evaluation, your performance appraisal, and you have this conversation with your boss. And your boss tells you, "Oh, very good, you did very well, and we are going to give you a promotion, and we are going to give you an increment, and you really feel nice. You have a sense of achievement, and you come out and you are very happy about it. You are gung-ho, and for the next 15 days you work with double the energy, and everybody says, "Kya ho gaya isko suddenly? Why is there so much keeda?" So you have this sense of achievement when you reward yourself for having achieved something. Every day in the morning you have a chance to have that sense of achievement. Today if I get up, like tomorrow I may go and run in Pali, with the slopes of Pali Hill. Okay? So I may think of doing 2 loops. So which is 2 loops is starting from, for those who know Pali Hill, starting from Rajesh Khanna Bungalow, going up Pali Hill, coming down to Union Park, Cafe Coffee Day, and going back. That is 1 loop. So I might run that twice. So I have set that as a target to myself, and I might do it 2 times. And when I finish it, I have a tremendous sense of achievement. Correct? So my mental state is gung-ho. I started my day in a very positive, elated manner. This mindset, this mind frame carries throughout the day. Everything that you do, because you started your day with a sense of achievement, is with a sense of achievement. Everything is positive. You are not looking at anything from a negative. अरे अभी ये भी करना पड़ेगा, अभी वो भी करना पड़ेगा, इसको फोन करना पड़ेगा, जो email लिखना पड़ेगा, you are not thinking in that frame of mind. You are in that let's go for the kill frame of mind. So imagine how much you will achieve in your lives. Every single thing that you do will come with that sense of achievement. Okay? So I like that. It improves your self-confidence, esteem. Everyone is a winner. And you know, like this picture says, when was the last time you did something different for the first time? You all come to talks like this because you want to do something different. If you didn't want to do something different, you all could have stayed at home, right? Not even signed up, not even registered. Each one of you knew the biodata, knew what you're coming here for, you wanted to do something different. You're hoping to get inspired. Correct? So this is an opportunity for you to do something different and approach each day with a sense of achievement. This is the last point. You meet very interesting people. I sent you an article. Okay, I'll mail an article. So today, someone was telling me last Sunday there was an article about networking in Economic Times. So last Sunday there was an article in Economic Times about this. So you know, running is a new golf. So many people network for golf, but today actually, besides I think motorsports and tennis, I think running has got more money than golf in terms of ad spend all over the world internationally. Because more people can run, then more people can play tennis, or more people can drive cars, or more people can play golf. Every other sport requires a lot of infrastructure. You need a racing track, you need a car to be this, you need a golf course, you need very expensive, and cities like Bombay don't have enough of them. And every other sport, tennis again you need maybe a little bit more approachable for people like us, but still you need to go there and practice. But running is something I know somebody who runs every day in the night. She has an early dinner at 7 o'clock. She doesn't have any other time. She's very busy. So she starts running at 9 o'clock and she runs on Carter Road multiple times to make up her mileage. So you can take up running whenever you want, morning, evening, in a pitch, even on the treadmill. But because of running, my own friend circle has exploded. My network has exploded. I used to network a lot when I was in business and when I was an entrepreneur, like everybody has to do. But after I came to running, almost everybody I meet is an entrepreneur, is an IIT, is an IIM, this type, chartered accountant. Everybody is from the achieving class of society. Why is that? Because the achievers go out, they want to take control of their life, they want to remain trim, they want to be healthy. They are achievers in other aspects of life, so they want to achieve in running. And because they are achieving in running, they are achievers in their other aspects of life. So it's a mutually symbiotic relationship between running and being an achiever. So in the field of running, you find everybody is an achiever. You'll never find anybody, after a run who's sad and dukhi beta and with the negative frames. Everybody's got to the endorphins, right? It's like in a pub or in a bar, everybody's drinking and everybody's high. Same thing in the morning. Okay, so you're meeting that kind of a group. So the network as really this, I like to think of it as a real life Facebook. So on Facebook you can connect to random people, you get connected. But in running you can do the same thing, but in person. So it's really like networking. And for many, running is a new romance. So there is this picture of this couple who met while they were running, and then they got together and then they decided to get married. So in one of the marathons, they decided to get married during the marathon. So they pulled into a park where the father was there and the family had assembled. So imagine running in Bombay and pulling into turf club and getting married and then finishing the marathon. So that is what they did. Oh really? Okay, I don't watch TV. Okay, so okay, oh good. So they are catching up. So therefore, these are the reasons that I like running. Okay, so as you can see, the reasons are very long, and I ran through most of them in a quick way. And I continue to run. I love to run. I love running so much that my new startup, which is You Too Can Run, is about promoting running. So people say, find your passion, and this is my passion, I think. My wife has told me, earlier 2 businesses, but you needed to be in business, you needed to earn an income, and you needed to grow, and you did everything right. But this probably is my passion. So I had my surgery in February 2007. Coming back to my story, and I did rehab. I started walking around. I was always a runner. Running around in 3 months, I started running. I did a trek to Mahuli in July 2007. For those who don't know, Mahuli is a peak just behind Shahpur. There is this Manas Mandiram, the Jains have a big temple on the way to Igatpuri. So behind that is this called, so it's about 3 hours up and 3 hours down. I was always a trekker, so I did the trek without any problem. I did a 10-kilometer run in October 2007. It was from NCPA to Wilson College and back. So a friend of ours who's runs a pediatric, oncology pediatric association. So they had a conference and we did a 10K run. So I did that in October 2007. And in the January of 2008, I ran my 21K again, which is the half marathon. So for those who don't know, a full marathon is 42 kilometers. Today, everybody uses the word marathon very loosely. And even we hear of 2-kilometer marathons and 5-kilometer marathons. So everybody likes to do that. But a marathon is technically 42.195 kilometers, and a half marathon is 21.095, half of that. And so when I give these talks, I say I do a half marathon. So people, kuch hoega half marathon, kya marun? Then I say it's 21 kilometers. So some people like per capita can say 21 kilometers. Then I say 21 kilometers is approximately the distance from here to maybe Goregaon, Aregaon. So that's the distance. If you got out of the office and ran till Goregaon, Aregaon, that would be 21 kilometers. So I ran that in in January 2007, which is within a year of my surgery. Okay. So naturally, I got media mention. I was on the front page of Times of India in that year. It said bypass entry to half marathon. The Indian Express, Hindustan Times, DNA. My wife also runs. Okay, and we both run, and she also doesn't do this thing very rigorously, but we both run, and she runs full marathons and half marathons all over the place. So we both were running. So Midday took an approach of the couple who ran together kind of thing. So this is what my story was, and I keep running. Today I run a half marathon distance every month. So for the last 3 years, I've been running a half marathon every month. In August, I ran the Hyderabad half marathon. In Hyderabad, 21 kilometers. In the months when there is an event, I run an event. If there is no event, then I run the distance by myself. So in many months like April or May, nobody organizes a running event because it's too hot. But I keep up with my practice. So either typically I would get out of my house in Kalina, which is the Bombay University in Kalina, and run up to Nariman Point, which is 21 kilometers. Okay. So if there is an event, I run an event. If there is no event, I don't run an event. In September, I have not yet decided where to run, but mostly I may run Coimbatore. In October, I will be running Pune, and I am going to London. So I am going to use that opportunity to run a 21K further distance in London because it will be cool weather. So who will leave a chance to run in good weather when you can do it? So I will be in London and I will be running a half marathon. It will not be an event, but by myself. In November, I will be definitely doing Delhi, and I will be doing Chennai. Yeah, I will be doing Delhi. There will be 3 consecutive weekends. I will be running a half marathon every weekend. So the Delhi will be the last weekend of November. I will be doing the half. In the first weekend of December, I will be doing Chennai, and in the second weekend, I will be doing Goa. And in January, I will do the Mumbai half. In February, I will do the Pondicherry. So I and my wife travel. We like to travel, and we like to go to places, and we like to run. So that's how we enjoy our life. Okay. So I keep running. Sorry.
What's the average speed that you maintain?
Nothing like an average speed, and yeah, good point. See, when I run 21K, I run practically the whole of it. Except for maybe drinking water or tying my shoelaces, or if there is a traffic signal then crossing the signal or something like that, I might stop and walk across and continue running. But today, technically, you can finish the half marathon in 3 hours 15 minutes. And 3 hours 15 minutes is actually walking speed. So even if you run 50% of it and walk 50%, you will finish it in under 3 hours.
So does that qualify as a run also?
Of course, yeah. There's nothing like a qualification as a runner.
Because just trying to differentiate between say brisk walking and running is how much speed difference is there. You just mentioned about 5K also.
Yeah, 5-6K would be brisk walking, and you can run at 5-6K also. We'll come to that. We'll come to the difference between what is running, what is jogging, what is walking, what is sprinting. Okay, we'll answer this after. So let's look at ourselves as entrepreneurs. We are the brain of the startup. So everybody says, who's the brains in the startup? You give a car to somebody and they say we are doing whatever X, Y, Z. And somebody will ask you who's the brains or who's the head. Correct? So the term head and the term brain are used to identify an organization. Just as they identify the thinking part of your body. So as the brain or the head, how important is it as entrepreneurs for our startups that we maintain a very clean brain, a very clean head? Very important, right? So if there is one way to clear, of course meditation is another, yoga is another, somebody can say aerobics, but running is probably one of the best ways to keep your brain healthy. Okay? So as entrepreneurs, we also know that it can be mentally very stressful and exhausting. Right? So whole day we are at the helm of things. Every time there is a challenge, everybody comes to us with a problem. Our employees come to us with problems. Sir, iska kya karne ka, uska kya karne ka. Vendor keeps asking, ye delay ho jayega, ho nahi hoega. Customers keep making demand, more than what you can deliver, and all over. And then not to forget the statutory, authorities who come and want compliance for various things. And the list goes on. So it can be mentally very stressful. It can be mentally very exhausting. As entrepreneurs, we all know it. So, like I like to say, there's always this debate whether we are sadist or masochist. Because our employees think we are sadist. Because at 5:30 in the evening, we go and dump work on the table and say, I want this done. So they think, oh, this guy is sadist. He likes to inflict pain on others. But we know that we like to inflict pain on ourselves because we go into this startup mode and we want to be entrepreneurs of our own. So all this can be very stressful, very exhausting. But at the same time, you have to be pleasant to everyone. Government servant comes, you can't show your anger. Your vendor comes, you can't show your anger. He will not supply you properly. Customers, so you can never show your anger. The employees, you can never show your irritation because they will leave you and go. Nowadays, even company by and driver, you can't show anger. So you have to be absolutely present with everyone while you are stressed and mentally exhausted internally. Okay. Definitely, we recognize that the mental makeup of the entrepreneur can make or mar the success of the business. Correct? Everyone will agree. So if you are mentally pleasant, active, because you can screw up the business by a wrong approach and a wrong mental frame of mind when you are sitting on your table every day. If you keep shouting at, we don't know what will happen. Everybody will leave you and go. Correct? You have nobody to execute. So we definitely know that it can make or mar. And your physical strength and your mental health will determine the health of your startup. So when in 2007 I came to know that I'm going to have a bypass and my heart was in an advanced stage of this, I decided to merge my business, my international BPO, with a domestic BPO. Fortunately, I got a very good partner. We didn't do any of this usual PE, VC kind of thing, valuation, nothing we did. We didn't hire any chartered accountant to value. Both of us were CS, me and me. And we sat down together over coffee on the back of an envelope, we do some numbers, and we decided the ratio and we merged our business. So I knew that if something happened to me physically, we were employing about 150 employees in our international BPO at that time. So those 150 employees, their hopes and their aspirations were locked in me. I was the trustee of their dreams. Everybody wanted to buy a car or a scooter or a new mobile or whatever. And they were looking at me. So I was the custodian of their dreams and I couldn't let them down. So my physical health had to be good. So that is why I carried out the merger of my international BPO with the domestic. And my mental health has to be good. And if both are good, then my startup will also be good. So let's look at what running does to you from an entrepreneurial point of view. We all know this old saying, you don't have to go into research, you don't have to talk about, prefrontal cortex and synapses and all these things that happen in the brain. You don't have to think of all that. We all know the very old saying, healthy mind and a healthy body. Correct? So if you have a healthy body, you have a healthy mind. Both are interconnected. Old wisdom sometimes is the best wisdom. Or the other one is that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, which is another way of saying the same thing. Right? So where do you play? I mean, you not play as in games, but if you go for a run and you de-stress yourself, which is what the word play means, then you are that much healthier and you are not a dull boy. So how do you go about doing this? How can you go about? If you want to play tennis, you need to look for a partner. If you want to play golf, you need to wait for a force. Anything else, you can go to the gym and exercise on your own. But you can run on your own. You don't need a partner, though a partner can be helpful. But if you want to, you can just get out in your society, in your compound, in your park. You can run for half an hour, walk for half an hour, do any combination of both for half an hour, 1 hour, come back. Everything would be absolutely, mentally clear. So basically, healthy mind in a healthy body. Learning is enhanced. So they did this very simple experiment. They gave cards and told people to remember the cards, Jack and 10 and 6 and whatever. And they told people to remember the cards. Say 10 cards were given and they said look at it for 1 minute, try to memorize and close it and try to recall what are cards you saw. And then they took the same bunch of people and told them please cycle me. So after they had cycled for, on stationary cycles for about 10 minutes, they said again look at the cards. Look at it for 1 minute, close it, now try to recall. Almost everybody recalled better when they were exercising. A very simple strategy. But it shows that when your brain is getting more oxygen, more glycogen, your memory retention, your learning is enhanced. As entrepreneurs, we need to learn all the time. While there are so many things that only the paranoid survive, which means that unless you learn and you move ahead, you will not survive as an entrepreneur. We know the blue ocean and the red ocean. So if you don't learn and keep going into the blue ocean, you will be in the red ocean. Correct? We don't differentiate or die. So unless you learn and differentiate from the marketplace, you will die. All these management books, different titles, they all point to the same thing. You got to keep learning. You can't stop learning. So even no matter how old you are, you got to keep learning, and you got to keep reinventing yourself. Like I made a Facebook post yesterday with a long thing about Microsoft and Nokia, and how it's a merger of two failures. Because they're both failing and they're both merging with each other. It's a marriage of two failed aged people. and why? Because they didn't learn how to move ahead with the mobile market. They were both, one was the handset maker, one was the PC, and they got stuck. So learning is enhanced when you exercise. Your endorphins are released, so your stress is busted. You definitely become de-stressed, you become calmer, you become more composed, you become more, less agitated, and you can take that much more mental load because your stress levels are already low. So you're not in the frame moment. Don't come to me, don't disturb. I'm already stressed. You're not, because even if different stresses come, you can take those stress and cope with that stress, which can only be better for all the decisions that you do in your startup. your anxieties come. Okay, lifts you out of depression. Depression today is, it's termed as a common cold of mental illness. In India, we have this very slanted approach towards going to a mental health professional. We think that you can't go unless you are a psychiatric case and पागल हो गया क्या तुम psychiatrist के पास जाता है. We associate that with the worst aspects of mental illness. But depression today, and the US of course is over medication and it goes to the other end. But today many of us are depressed in very mild forms for various reasons. And there was an experiment that was conducted, Prozac, which is the tablet that is most given for depression. So doctors conducted this test. They took 10 patients, gave them Prozac, and carried out a mood evaluation study for 1 month. Whatever it is, it either worked or it didn't work. They had to increase the dose if it didn't work. Then they told those 10 people or 15 people that sample to start exercising the next month. So now exercise, do about 15 minutes, cycling, walking, running, whatever you can do, and continue with the same medication. Their mood uplifted, their receptivity to the medication improved. Many people who are borderline got out of depression without medication. Many people who are severely depressed reduced their medication and eventually came back. So today, as entrepreneurs, we don't address this, and I'm going to suggest I to have a talk on depression, because many of us face so much of stress all the time, and we don't know how to have this stress, coping mechanism. That we go into mild forms of depression. All startups go through, at least I believe that at least all startups go through at least 1 or 2 near-death situations. How many of your startups have gone through near-death situations? You don't know where you're going to pay your salary next month. You don't know where you're going to pay your vendor the next month. Your bank is not giving you any more money. None of your PEs are looking at you. No VC is willing to give you a term sheet. And your burn rate, is not going to last you beyond 6 months. All of us go through that kind of situation. All startups have to go. It's in the cycle of a startup. The day you do a startup, at least 2 near-death situations will come in your startup. How you cope with that near-death situation is what will differentiate between whether you are a successful startup or a not successful startup. All of us know that 6 or 8 or 9 or 5 startups die. All people who manage funds know that there is going to be only one multi-bagger out of the 10 investments that I make. 9, 3 or 4 will just become 0. 3 or 4 will just give me average return, and that return which I need to give to my investors has to come out of one startup, which is going to be successful. So all of us know as entrepreneurs that startups have a high failure rate, and we still love to come to startups. That's another story. but being part of a startup means that all entrepreneurs are they go into mild phases of depression when this kind of a thing happens. And you can go for medication, and in India we don't visit psychiatrists, or we don't go readily for medication because they tend to overprescribe, which is the other extreme, which also I don't like. But in India we have a social network which is very helpful. We have social networks like TIE for helping entrepreneurs, which is very helpful. We have family. Plus, if you add a good dose of exercise, then it can probably make the difference between whether you are a successful startup or a not so successful startup. Because everything will depend upon your mental state. It breaks addiction. There is this girl called Kripa Sagar, and she is also an entrepreneur. And she has taken it upon herself. Her campaign is called Fresh Off Breath Air, and you can do a search. She was smoking. She was a smoker for till about 2 years back, and she should smoke about 10 or 15 cigarettes a day. And then she took up running, and now because of running, she has stopped smoking. And now she has made it her mission. But she still continues with the startup, which is her father's business, and her husband both are entrepreneurs. She helps both of them. But she's now made it a mission to run a marathon in every state and promote the message to youngsters of not smoking and breaking addiction to nicotine by taking up running. I know many people who have given up far serious addictions because of running. Because when you run, as I even said earlier, it releases the same endorphins, it releases the same dopamine, it releases the same neural pathways which give you pleasure as nicotine or as alcohol or as pizza or as coke, which are also addictions. Right? So it breaks all kinds of addictions, food addictions, chemical addictions, and I'm seriously telling you, if you have addiction, take up running. After 5-6 months, you will not feel the urge to go for any addiction.
Without side effects.
Without any side effects. There's another presentation which I can keep going on and on, but there are 29 diseases listed: heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, osteoporosis. Everything is listed there. Depression, of course, and everything is listed. And then it says that supposing there was a medication that could cure all of this, then whoever invented the medication would be the richest guy. Correct? With this. And the next slide is a pair of running shoes. so it's really that beneficial. Okay. And lastly, as I've said, it fights aging. Again, by aging, what I mean is that as you get older, we know that memory losses happen, dementia can set in. Our mental powers get diminished as much as your physical powers get diminished. In fact, the body's aging process. So, but by running, you can stave off the aging process and be mentally sharp as you grow older. And it happens at different stages in life with different levels. So, because of all these reasons, I think that every entrepreneur should run, should exercise, should walk, should and when I say run, I don't mean half marathons. I mean, if you run a 5K distance, run a 5K distance 2 or 3 times a week, that is enough. All the benefits will kick in. Okay? Who has the time? If I ask my pune, and really this is a conversation that happened yesterday in my house. I was exercising in my house and my pune comes in the morning to take my office key and open. And my pune has put on weight. And I told my pune, Mohan, कल से तुम भी मेरे साथ भागने वाले हैं, तुम्हारा वजन कम करने है. Not because anything, that's my mission. I want to, what better way to do than start with my pune. So I told him that and he said, हाँ सर मैं करेगा पर मेरे को सवेरे पानी भरना पड़ता है, बच्चे लोग को स्कूल में छोड़ना पड़ता है, टाइम नहीं है. So that's the conversation that I had with my pune. And I'm sure that if I ask all of you, you're all going to say, boss, I don't know how you manage the time, but I don't have time. But let me assure you, my day is not 26 hours, it's still the same 24. Okay? And I have the same 7 days a week. But I find the time. So one thing is that if you exercise 1 hour every day, it is just 4% of your time. If you take 24, 1 hour is 4% of your day. Is what you need to set aside so that you can be fruitful, productive the next 23 hours. Sleep better, recover better, not get into addictive behaviors, be more energetic, be more successful, be less depressed, handle stress better, not be anxious, panic attack frame of mind for the other 23 hours. By just devoting 1 hour a day to exercise. Recognize this guy? Good. And you all know he runs, right?
Yes.
So how does he spend the time? Are you more busy than Anil Ambani? For the right reason or the wrong reason, but are you more busy? And I can put photographs of Milind Soman or Gul Panab here, or Rahul Bose, or John Abraham, or I can put photographs of, Chandrasekhar, CEO of TCS, or Rashesh Shah, CEO of Edelweiss, and so many. I can put so many IIMs, IITs photographs here who are all busy here. So many smaller startups. Garden variety CEOs who have just 200, 300 people, 500 people startups. I can put photographs here. And all of them find time. Where do they find the time? You have to ask yourself, you have to look at your diary and you have to say that this is not negotiable. this 1 hour. I'm not going to do anything. This is not negotiable. I'm going to set aside. I'm going to cut out. So, like for example, I don't watch TV. So you said this thing about this, and I said I don't watch TV. I don't watch TV. But he said that I don't want TV in my family, in my life. So we have a TV in the house. We have a Tata Sky HD, but it's not connected. We don't recharge it unless we need to recharge it. So there's an order page, or if there's a 911, then we put money into the box. Otherwise we don't. And my entire family has accepted it. Nobody looks upon it as denial. Most of the time it's crap.
Yes.
Which one is a better option?
Us?
Which one is a better option? 1 hour in the morning or half an hour morning and evening?
There are personal choices. I like to do it in the morning for various reasons. One is in the morning you are in a fresh frame of mind. Your day's activities are not started, and you do it. You finish it. You come home. You have your bath. You are ready for the day. Okay, you finish it. You are done. Okay, you are treated as a sacrosanct. You don't allow anything else to happen. If same thing, if I said I'll go running in the evening, from a time management point of view, in the evening there will be 2 calls, 4 emails, and 2 people sitting in front of me, and I will have to go somewhere else, and I would have been late, and I will get stuck in traffic, which is common for everybody. So best is to, from a priority point of view, morning is better. From a pollution point of view, because many of us run in the open, morning is better because hopefully the sea breeze of the night has cleaned the air. Whereas during the evening, the whole day's pollution, automobile pollution is today the biggest contributor. And we run on the road, so we are running in a polluted atmosphere. So morning is better. If you can't find time in the morning, do something in the morning, do something in the evening. Or in the evening, do indoor stuff, go to a gym, do some cross training, do some running, walking in the morning. So everybody can, mix and match. But ideal is to do it in the morning and finish it.
For medical benefit, it doesn't make any difference whether you run at any time of the day. Doesn't make absolutely, it has same benefits, almost same benefits, except what makes it is because of pollution you should not run in the evening. Otherwise benefits are as equal as running in the morning or in the evening, in the night. There are many people who run in the night, 10 o'clock. As he said, when people used to run after 9 o'clock. There are people who run in the evening.
Should there be any gap before you eat anything?
Definitely there is a gap. Actually, one should not run on the full meal stomach. Never should run. Have some, he will tell you about what food has to take on prior running, after running. We come to that.
And
staircase school, running staircase, and running. In part, will it
definitely.
so for some days when you cannot run and you climb staircase, will it be complicated?
Yesterday when Pune came over, I was running up the 70 close to my house. When he came to my this, he was coming up the lift and I was running up and he saw that there is a pathway. So I was running up the 70th because I couldn't go out for a run.
It is a similar benefit.
He is staying on the 7th floor. He makes it a point to
We get a to walk at least once or twice.
on the 7th floor.
Every member of my family, including my mother-in-law. Okay, so the second thing that we hear very often is about injury. And I must share this with you. Both of them are my friends. The bearded guy here is Major T.P. Singh, and this is Amit Sheth. Amit Sheth runs the Comrades Marathon, which is 89 kilometers. And this was taken last year in Delhi when we were running the ITEL Delhi half marathon. And T.P. Singh is a Kargil war hero. And about when he was in Kargil, a grenade exploded next to his leg. And within about 15 days, they had to cut his leg and he is an amputee. He still has some 29 fragments, shrapnel embedded in his body. And it gives him a lot of problems. There quite a few are in his digestive tract and it keeps acting up now and then. But the doctors decided to leave them there because going and removing them would probably cause more harm than letting them be. So BP Singh runs half marathon every day. And this was the photograph. He runs with prosthetic legs, and when you two can run work very largely with him, and we kind of funded and we put together a plan, and he went to the US, and now he's got blades for himself. You know, the blade feet that you see on Paralympics. India doesn't have a Paralympic entry into Paralympics because Indian runners don't have blades available. So a US company called Hanger, which are the world makers of this, we initiated this, and we collected money from all runners. He went to the US and he spent time in Oklahoma, and he's come back with 2 sets of blades. Now the training has to start. So hopefully, if that thing goes well, then he will be India's first entry to Para. Okay. So tell me, how many of you have injuries? What are those? Huh? Okay. So a lot of people ask this question about, oh, what will happen to my knees? My knees will get damaged. So the answer is this, that whether running will damage your knees or not is not clear. I know of runners who are 80 plus years of age, who are running regularly for the last 30, 40 years, whose knees are not damaged at all. They are running on road, they are running on glass, they are running on concrete, they are running with chappal, without chappal. I can show you samples of all kinds of runners of that age who are running and whose knees are not got damaged. Okay. I can also show you enough non-runners, friends. I mean, my friends' mothers are there, been houses all their lives, never did anything strenuous, but have had their knees injured. So there is no correlation, there is no causation between running and knees. Okay? But so therefore whether running will damage your knees or not is not proven at all. But the fact remains that if you don't run, there are 10 other damages that will do to your body. Okay? So very often when people ask me, I say that, what do you want to be? I mean, you will ultimately die one day and go to heaven, and God will say, क्या किया तुमने उधर? He will say, मैंने सिगरेट पिया, दारू पिया, चांदी का पोखरा बनाया, पानपरा खाया, पर मेरा knees perfect है. So you may do damage of all life, but your knees will be perfect. So is that what you want to be? So forget about injuries, forget about knees. Just take up running. So this is a very 6-week program, and the program is designed to, each week you have to do, I can share this by email, okay? So each week you are supposed to do this 3 times. So whatever I have written here, you are supposed to do it 3 times. If you have not done it 3 times, then don't go to the next week. Okay? In the first week, and this is assuming that you are sedentary, you are not exercising, you don't go for walk, you don't go for runs, you don't go and swim, you don't do anything. Okay? So you have been sedentary for the last 2-3 years. So we want to get you started off in a very base level plan. It's not very ambitious, but still gives you all the benefits. So in week 1, for 20 minutes you walk, and for 20 minutes you do 2 minutes of walking and 2 minutes of jogging. Very light jogging, very light walking for 20 minutes. So typically you would walk for 10 minutes, jog, run for 20 minutes, and walk for 10 minutes. So typically this would be broken up into the beginning and the end of the walking and running thing. Okay?
Very understand.
So you have 20 minutes. So break it up into 10 minutes. Start from your house or wherever you want to start. Walk for 10 minutes. So you get warmed up a bit. Walk a little bit briskly so that you get pumped up. Then 10 minutes are over. You jog, run for 20 minutes. Jog for 22 minutes. Walk for 2 minutes. Jog for 2 minutes. Walk for 2 minutes. If 2 minutes is difficult, there are various ways. Okay, there are various permutation combinations. The way I like to do it is that I look at lampposts, because all lampposts are spaced very equally. So run for 3, walk for 3. Run for 3, walk for 3. Run for 2, walk for 2. Run for 1, 1 is 2 less, So run for 2, walk for 2. So you can keep doing that. You don't have to taking. Whenever a signal comes, always walk because you don't want to, have that auto rickshaw there knocking you off and, you want to
So
go.
first one is actually 40 minutes.
Pardon?
Yeah.
First one is 40
40 minutes, right. Sorry. So in week 2, you increase 40 minutes to 50 minutes. 10 minutes of walking and walking in the end and in the beginning. And for 30 minutes you do the same thing. And very easily you can do this. Week 3, you go to 1 hour now. You do 10 minutes in the beginning and then 40 minutes you do the same running or walking. In week 4, so this 3 weeks you have increased your time. In this, you now increase your running. So you do 1 minute walk and 3 minutes jump. So you make it into a ratio of 1:3. So you walk for 2 lampposts and run for 6. Okay, so you can slowly increase. So you do for 40 and this. In the week 5, you increase your running, you make it into a ratio of 1:4. And in the week 6, and your walking you reduce. So you do only 5 minutes of walking here and 5 minutes of walking in the end, and you do 50 minutes of running. And in week 6, you try to do continuous walk run for 60 minutes. You will have easily covered 5 kilometers by this time. In 6 weeks, 1.5 months from now, before Diwali. You can enjoy your sweets, your mitochondrial density will go up. If you continue till Christmas, you might be able to get into the slinky black dress. Okay, so this is the plan. It's as easy as this.
I'm actually a big fitness freak myself.
I don't like to use the word freak, so freak assumes that you're something abnormal, So nobody says I'm a TV watching freak. I watch TV for 2 hours. I'm not a TV watching freak, or I play games for 2 hours, on computer. I'm not a TV game freak. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So plus I'm into a lot of dancing as well, and I do all different kinds of fitness activities like spinning, powerlifting, and so on.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and plus I have a good control over my diet as well. But walking is something which I have never done, like marathon and all this I've never done. So do you think additionally should I add this to my schedule, or is it
I
only?
don't know how busy your schedule is, so.
No, I make it a point every day, 1.5 hours, every day compulsory to be done. Some
You
form
can
of
do this
workout.
only 2 days.
Twice.
Because the other days you are already fit, and you can become more aggressive. You can start from here. This is building up weights, assuming you're sedentary. So you are already not sedentary, so you can start from
So
here.
maybe once a week or twice a week.
Last one, walk duration is missing.
Yeah, so you 1 minute walk, 4 minutes jog for 60 minutes.
And in those 60 minutes, how much is the walk and how much is the jog?
So in a ratio of 1:4. So you would end up typically, walking for about 20 minutes and. So the idea is to take walk breaks in between. Idea is never to run continuously.
If you're running continuously, say for an hour, I would generally do a 20-minute run, a 5-minute walk, and again a 20-minute.
So there is this principle called progressive loading. Loading. One of the training principles. So depending upon where you are, that much progressively you can add load. So you cannot suddenly expect to be a half marathon. You have to run 5K. Once you do 5K, maybe 1 year or so you are doing this regularly, then you can think of how to go for a 10K. So your body needs to adapt and it needs to be progressively loaded. Without knowing A for apple, B for blackberry and whatever. So you can't go and write sentences. So you need to start with the basics. So basically the very easy thing that is somebody who is 50 years of age is sedentary, has been sedentary all his life, can start.
Age is low bar for this.
Right?
How many days in a week?
3 days. 3 days in a week, so 3 days you still have time to catch up with your morning news. Look at CNN, IBN and decide what stock you are going to sell or buy. How the market is going to move and stuff like that.
if you put say 1.5 hour every day in the morning for exercise, is it advisable to use it for running 6 days a week or 2 days running, 2 days gym, 2 days?
2 or 3 days running, 2 or 3 days cross training. Cross training is a term runners used to signify some other form of training, which still keeps you fit but doesn't keep loading your legs all the time. So you might take up swimming, you might take up yoga, you might take up gym, you might take up cycling, you might take up dance, you might take up strength training, anything else. That doesn't load your legs. So you rest your legs, but do something else.
I go to yoga class 5 to 6 days a week. 3.5 kilometers to and fro. So can I jog every day?
Perfectly. I run to MIG club. No, I don't take my car out. Earlier I should take my car to MIG club, which is where we train. Park the car and then run for half an hour and take the car back. But now running has become like commuting for me. So if I'm in that neighborhood and in the morning time, I run to people's houses and do whatever I need to do and I come running back. I get my running in.
In my neighborhood, I see a lot of people going for morning walk, but no one runs. So it's kind of silly, but if I have to start running, I'll drive to Carter Road or some other place and then run there. So actually I should be running in the same neighborhood, right? It's more easy.
It's easier because unfortunately our cities are not really well built, they're not runner friendly. We don't have footpaths and we don't have roads either. So if you have the pedestrians there with a footpath, if you have the motorists there with a road. So that's the quality of our infrastructure.
What is your opinion about highway?
A lot of people run on the highway. You from Abbotsford you can come to the highway, run along the highway and come back. Or go to west, run up to Juhu and come back.
But when you are running on the highway, you have to take real precautions.
Yeah.
Like you have to always face the traffic.
Oh, okay.
That is a must. The moment you enter the highway, that's why you have to be very particular when
You always have to face the traffic. That's it. So this is a little bit about motivation, and it takes a little bit to change your pace. They say that if you do anything for 3 weeks continuously, 21 days, then your new habits are set. But the key is getting out, and we all know, we all listen to lots of lectures like this. And on that day evening, you are very, you take out your shoe, you take out your shoes, Venkat ne bola hai. And next day, you know what happens in the morning. Suddenly your call comes, there are 2 WhatsApp messages and you have got 2 phone calls to make. and something similar, So always you need to remember this, that, this is your comfort zone and all your magic happens outside your comfort zone. So this was true when you were in KG. You had to go first day to the school and your mom left you and went back home and you were outside your comfort zone. Correct? And you were crying probably. And then you came back. The first time you went for a picnic with your school, you were outside your comfort zone. The first time you traveled on your own, you were outside your comfort zone. So there are many situations in life that you have to go outside your comfort zone. The first time you went for an interview, you were outside your comfort zone. The first time you went and made a application to a bank for a loan, you are outside your comfort zone. You are asking for money. Or when you make your pitch to your VC, you are outside your comfort zone. You are always doing something new, but it is always this new things that you did that made you what you are. So if you don't do new things, then and if you don't step outside your comfort zone, you are never going to make that change. So you have to remember this, and you have to step outside your comfort zone. You are going to sweat. Your dog is going to bark. Okay, you are not going to look very nice in that dress of yours that you might think, no, I should get something more, with a little bit more oomph. The next time I go to the mall and then I'll start running. So, all good intention, but you just put it off. Okay? And all things are difficult before they are easy. The other very light thing I like to do is that people ask me, how do you run a half marathon? The simplest answer is, if anybody wants to run a half marathon, is that there is a task list. of what you need to do. It's a 12-week program. It can be a 16-week program. The half marathon in Mumbai is already registered. You won't get any seats unless you go to an interview. But even today, you can from zero run a half marathon, run, walk in whatever combination. Okay. So you can do that. But the question is that it's a task list. You just need to methodically put tick marks each of the short list. Week number 4, 15 minutes run, done. Week number 5, half an hour run, done. You just have to keep putting it, and every day you will be slightly more than what you did the earlier week. But at the end of that 12 week or 16 week, whatever program you choose, you would have run a half marathon. And you have loaded your body to run a half marathon. And if you want to do it, and if you have this, you can do it every month. It's not very difficult at all. It just looks difficult until you have done it. So for those who think that, I am old, how many people think that they are too old to run? अरे ये उम्र में कहाँ भागेगा? Good. So nobody is there like this. So there is this guy whom I trained. His name is Surendra Bhai Desaria. Civil engineer, Gujarati, never exercised. Had a cardiac arrest at the age of 65. 65. Okay. How many are older than 65 years? I don't think anybody is beyond. Okay. 65. He is epileptic, takes medicine for epileptic attacks. He has bronchial asthma, takes steroids and sprays. At 66, he ran his 6 kilometers because I work with Asian Art Institute and I train people because I got operated in Asian Art and I work with people and I encourage heart patients to run like me. So this year we would have about 30 heart patients who are going to run the half marathon. Okay, and we now do about 100 people doing the dream run. That is the 6 kilometer segment. All are heart patients. And this year, from last year, we started working with cancer patients and with senior citizens. So both Dignity Foundation and Harmony Foundation send people over, and I believe that we must work for the aged and for the elderly. And they run, walk, whatever it is, and they want to be as healthy as they can be at 65 years of age. And why not? It's their right. Right? So Surendra Bhai Desaria, at age 67, he decided to run his half marathon, and he ran. Okay? And at 68, he is preparing for his second half marathon. And if any one of you is interested in knowing him and meeting him, come on a Saturday morning, 6 o'clock outside Asian Art, and you will find him and me there, and we'll be doing a 7K full BKC segment, that is, from Maker Mac City to MTNL and back. Who works in Tata Communications? He just left to his office and back out to the same. Okay, so there are two ways. History has this thing of there were two gentlemen. You both know who they were. They lived around the same period in history. Okay, and there was Hitler and there was Gandhi. And Hitler is a warning to everybody that this is not how we should be. And Gandhi is an example to everybody. Correct? And I'm sure that in every family there must be somebody who must be a warning, to the others. Like I'm sure that some mother must be telling the child, at least you don't become like your uncle, As if your uncle or don't become like your father. Which is even talking about. So there is always this warning, that is represented by Hitler, and there is always this example that is represented by Gandhiji. So I chose to be an example and lead by example. The choice is up to you. Whom do you want to be? Do you want to be a warning in terms of your help to the others, or do you want to be an example? We all chose to be entrepreneurs. because we wanted to do something different and be an example. We definitely don't want to be warnings, right? So become examples to you, to your employees, to your immediate circle by becoming examples of good. So whom do you want to be? So questions. The first question was, what is jogging, walking, running, and striding? There are 4 things. So walking, there is a difference between walking and running, jogging, and striding. Okay. Running, jogging, and striding are in one set, and walking is this. The main difference is that in walking, there is always one feet that is touching the ground. Your other leg comes out only when the first leg has hit the ground. So there is always one leg that is supporting the ground. In running or jogging or walking or sprinting, there is a point of time in the gait cycle when both your feet are in the air. So if both your feet are in the air, then your leg lands with the full weight of your body, and then you kick your body up, and then the other leg lands. Okay? So that is the difference between jogging, running, and striding, and walking on the other side. Okay? What is the difference between jogging and running? Do I say I went for a 21-kilometer half marathon jog? We don't use the term that way, right? We say I ran the half marathon. Nobody says I jogged the half marathon. Nobody says I sprinted the half marathon. So jogging is like when you start first, you just go out of your house, you do whatever you want to do. You're not very goal oriented. You don't have a training plan. You don't measure your time. So you just go out. You have a casual run, not very focused on your performance. You come back. That's the job. Somewhere along the line, you make a transition from being a jogger to a runner. Because you first start jogging, you are happy with jogging, you go for a jog on Carter Road, you go up and down, you meet a friend, you start talking, you see something, you stop, a nariyal pani wala attracts you, you have a nariyal pani, and you come back. So that's jogging. A very casual approach. Running assumes a more, performance-driven approach. You try to measure yourself, you say, 20 minutes running ho gaya, though I will run for 2 lampposts, then I will walk for 2 lampposts. So when you have some metrics to set yourself by, then you can say that you are a runner. So a runner is more purpose-driven. Then a jogger is more casual. Striding is what you do when you run a 100 meters or a 200 meters or a shorter distance. Then you really run at a very fast rate. And physiologically speaking, when you are running or when you are jogging, you are in an aerobic state. That means you can breathe and you can talk and you can have a conversation with whoever is running with you. But when you are striding, you cannot. Yes. So what Yadav does for us, and that is running. What for the half marathon? What Usha does or Shiny Abraham does or Cartwheel does is sprinting.
You want to say something about breathing, because a lot of people say that you have to really take care of the breathing style and all. Even this movie Bhag Matra, there was this coach who said that you are not getting the breathing right. So anything to focus on breathing?
Not really. There is this school of thought that you must breathe through your nose, move your saas must flow. But when you are running, you cannot really not breathe through your nose. Okay, you can breathe through your nose. There are many schools of thought about breathing, that you should exhale when your feet is coming down, you should inhale when your this is down. But most people can't really focus on breathing and running. So, for example, me, I've been running. I don't know how I breathe, I don't even care how I breathe. And it's not going to make a difference in your performance.
Coming to what you were just saying, difference between striding, jogging, walking. There are many people who say, can't do running, don't have the stamina, but walking, I love walking. So, how does walking
So the question was that, what is the speed of running? Like when you do a half marathon, what is the speed? So you need to do a pace for to do a half marathon in 3 hours. which is a combination of running and walking, you need to do a pace of 8.54. It's about 7 kilometers an hour ka. Walking if you do, in 3 hours you do 21 kilometers. Correct? So 7 kilometers you can walk briskly. 7 kilometers you can also run slowly. The difference is that when you run, when both your feet are up in the air and you are pushing your body up to go, and then your feet is landing, you are braking yourself and then again kicking yourself, that effort is about 20 to 25% more than walking at the same speed, because in walking your body is not going up and down. Correct? So yes, you can walk very comfortably and you can finish a half marathon by just walking at a very brisk pace and say I did a half marathon walking. But would the health benefits be as beneficial as running? The answer is no. Because at 7 kilometers, same speed, if you ran, your effort is 25% more intensive than walking at the same speed. So the health benefits kick in when you run. Is walking better than sitting in the sofa? The answer is yes. But is running better than walking? The answer is also yes. Questions?
Any tips on the diet? I mean, also what do you eat before and after the run?
Sure, good. So in terms of your diet, I mean, there are all schools of thought. And there's a whole range of practices. There are people like me who are vegan, who don't want to do this, and we are athletes. And I run and I have no problem in this. There are many vegan athletes all over the world, and I run a Facebook group called Vegan Athletes in India. And we have many runners who are vegan, who run more intensively. So, in terms of nutrition, there's a quantity and there's a quality. So first is the quantity. Each one of us wants to lose weight. I think only one gentleman said he doesn't want to lose weight. So how much do you have to eat? What you have to eat is actually very different. Your body, the size of your stomach is said to be the size of a cup of pasta. This is the size of your stomach. If you see the monks of old, they would go with a bowl which would be about this size, and people would give them food, and that is what they would eat. That was the old way in which these monks lived, a very frugal life. So this is the size of your stomach. So 2 times a day, if you eat this much, you are enough. I would say that 2 times a day if you eat this much, and another 2 or 3 times if you eat about a fist, you are meeting your body's needs for nutrition. So this is the quantitative approach. And if you eat that much, you will steadily lose weight and you will become as fit as you can. This is how much you need to eat. But what can be in this? Of course, it should be good food. So you can't fill it up with samosa and rabdi. It should be nutritious food. It should be good food. It should be organic food. It should be healthy food. It should be cooked very nicely. Something like a breakfast today. Okay. So, but can you have an occasional samosa? Yes, I also love my occasional samosa. Do I occasionally have dessert? Yes, I also occasionally have dessert. So there's nothing wrong in that. But only you can't be straying away from the mean all the time.
How do you define occasional?
Once a week. Twice a week. Sorry.
I had an add-up question to that same diet. Biggest struggle now as we get older is in college, anything, anytime, eat, be very active, never put on weight, be healthy. Now the biggest struggle is what to avoid. You want to eat everything. I love food. So, is there any possibility at this kind of age to go back to eating whatever you want, just increase your exercise and be happy?
Okay, like I do.
Seriously.
Every single meal that I have, I enjoy.
No, enjoy.
I do not feel that I enjoy every meal of mine. My definition of enjoyment is different from your definition of enjoyment. किसी को 2 पैक में चलता है, किसी को पूरा बाटी लगता है.
Exactly, I answered your question. If you are interested in this, what he says is right. Absolutely. Now, what he is recommending you is to run. It's okay. Now, running will definitely take up your more calories. Your BMR, basal metabolic rate, will go up. Right? So take once in a week, something of that sort. You can enjoy that meal. He is enjoying every day, each meal. You can enjoy that one in a week.
फिर भी सोचना पड़ता है ना
Once in a week.
तो ये टाइम पे तो सोचना ही नहीं पड़ता है
But you can
Take up the running.
see, let me tell you one thing. Can you keep spending money as much as you want all your life? Even Michael Jackson will go bankrupt. Our users will go bankrupt. Correct? So there has to be a discipline in our life, whether it is food or whether it is money. Don't we have a budget no matter how big a business we run? You have a budget. It may be in lakhs or it may be in crores, depending upon what your budget is. But you can't be a spendthrift, whether it comes to needs or whether it comes to, fiscal or physical practices. Sorry.
What do you have before you run and after you run?
So what do I have before I run? So typically my morning starts with a bowl of nuts. So we have this practice, in our running group we got a dietitian and we came to a mix. So my morning bowl of nuts contains 4 or 5 badams, almonds, 1 walnut, a spoonful of flaxseed, a couple of raisins, 1 date, and some methi. So all these are supposed to have different beneficial effects. So they came from different places and I put them all. So my servant does this vati and she puts all that in a vati and puts water on it. Okay. So all of that is added with a spoon and the water is drunk. The water becomes very sweet because the date releases all the sugar. It becomes very sweet and very nice, and you bite the flaxseed and that is what I have before I run. Even if I am running a half marathon, that is what I have. At the most I have a banana. Or if there is a hotel like when we were in Hyderabad, breakfast was made and served. So then I had 2 idlis. But not necessary. If you are going for a shorter run, not necessary. After I come back, the question is that people say that you should have a protein shake. Okay? So because your body has exercised and your body has undergone repair, so if you give protein, then you have this window of opportunity for the body to repair itself by putting protein. So because I am a vegan, I put proteins in the form of soy milk, spirulina. Whenever I travel abroad, I get some hemp protein. I use a lot of fruits, and I use some flavorings like cocoa powder to give it a chocolate taste, or rose milk, if I want a sweeter this. So those are the kind of stuff that I have for my protein needs. Many people like to have whey protein. After they come back, I have it in normal dairy milk. You can do with whatever you want.
So that's after a span of some time after you exercise?
After about 10-15 minutes after you come back from the run.
And after you eat something, gap between
Yeah. See, having this bowl is like eating nothing practically. Even when you go for a proper race, you can have a bowl of cereal or a bowl of upma, or whatever you like for breakfast, whatever you like. You can have a bowl. The bowl is not full stomach. That's not going to be. You shouldn't run after a full meal. 2 hours.
Eating that much doesn't feel like you have enough energy, like
The body has 1920 calories of glycogen running in the bloodstream, whether you got any food in your stomach or not. So if that much of glycogen, there is blood sugar, diabetes sugar jata hai. So what is that sugar? The sugar is glycogen, and that much of glycogen is there in your blood all the time. Your body keeps metabolizing and pushing the blood. If it goes too high, it releases insulin, it brings it down, and it keeps balancing. That is enough to run a half marathon. So for a half marathon, you don't really need to put in fuel to run. Only when you go beyond 30-40 kilometers, you run out of that glycogen. Then you need to think of your mean race fuel strategy. For a 5K, 10K, you don't need to. The food in your stomach is not the food that is going to fuel your muscles.
Excuse me.
The food in your stomach goes into the intestine. From the intestine, it becomes various parts are taken out one part is glycogen, which the other part is fat, which we all despise so much. And they are stored in different parts of your body. Glycogen is stored in your muscles, and when you run from your muscles, the glycogen is released into your blood, and that glycogen is then taken to the mitochondria, converted into energy. So it is not what you eat that is going to fuel. It's what you ate 2 days back that is going to fuel.
How much time before you eat running, like, is it immediately before running, or if you are getting up at 6 o'clock if you want to run? So
I have a small bowl of nuts and I have a fruit if I am hungry. I go for 5K, 10K, 21K, you really don't have to.
Just to add to what I think Mr. Venkat was saying and what you were asking about the protein, I just want to add one more thing. We had a few weeks ago Mr. Vijay Udarraj, one of our charter members, who owns this company called Right Choice, Right Bites, sorry. And the bars that he creates, protein bars, are very healthy, which you can eat after your run or your gym or whatever. And we had a lot of people, a lot of our members who've taken it, and myself have tried it. Those also work very well. Just after the run, what you were saying, something that you just want to carry, the protein which kind of helps you to repair your system. Try it. Do we have any more questions now?
About using that Fitbit and to track your thing, how much I have run. Actually, you said you run 15 minutes or half an hour. But actually, you should also track it that how much you have done that. Say by a Fitbit or some type of a apparatus, then it tracks your thing that you have run this much for the day or this much what you have done. What Vishal Mundal also puts up on his Twitter also, that 10,000 steps he has taken today, that is around 10 kilometers or something like that. That would also help us.
So should you log what you do? The answer is, if you log, then you have a diary, you have an accountability. The very fact that you are writing a log means that you are willing to make yourself accountable. And I will not go into a long answer in the interest of time. But our ways in which our brain works is that if you start writing a log, then we don't like to see gaps in the log. So if you take a calendar and if you put 5 kilometers, 20 minutes, whatever, you put here, then you want that next week, you want that entry to come there. So that brings about a lot of self-accountability, and if you put it up in the family, then there's also social accountability with your family members. Oh, you didn't go for a run yesterday, so go today.
You put it on Facebook even more.
Yeah, so it's a healthy way. So what Vishal Mundal is doing is that he's putting accountability to himself by declaring it on Twitter. Okay, so logging definitely helps, reinforce habits. Okay, now how do you measure is a different thing. Before Fitbit came and before Garmin, we all runners use Garmin. Okay, which is a watch with a GPS and it tells you everything. So before all this came, people were running and people were breaking the 4-minute mile marker with nothing, just a paper and a pencil, or with a very elementary stopwatch. So what technology you use is left to you and your pockets and your desire to be tech savvy, but definitely logging helps. But logging can be done in the most simplest of fashions. We can put a timer watch or something. A 200 rupees Chinese Chunaka Dabba watch is enough for that. And you can put a timer and you can go out, you can walk, you can come back and you can write.
In the profile mentions some books.
I read a lot of books, yeah. And I'm writing a book on it, which is basically all this.
How does it help reading a book or journal?
Definitely helps because there's a source of inspiration. So and there's a guide book, and it helps you to there are chapters that you can go back. There is a log. You can go back to questions that you never occurred to you. So I think a handbook of running will always help.
Any one book you suggest?
Unfortunately, in India there is no book, and when my book comes out, it's going to be the first. So you can buy n number of books from Flipkart on some, but they will tell you to have a blueberry after your run, and they will tell you to have a quinoa burger to meet your protein needs, and they will not tell you that a quinoa has got 3% protein, whereas our ragi has got 7% protein.
There's a very interesting comic on oatmeal.
Yes, I know that. I'm aware of it.
That's a good read, like a 10-minute read.
Also, there are a lot of these running clubs that are active in Mumbai. I don't know if you would have a lot in your own vicinities wherever you stay. There are active ones in
So, Dr. Ajay Karat and we are part of a running group. We do 3 days a week.
yours?
Top Gear, it's called Top Gear. We call ourselves Top Gear MIG because we are based out of MIG Club in Bandra. So we run in Bandra East and Bandra West. And Ajay Karat runs the running group in Bandra West. Bandstand, and so that is one group. There's a group called Striders. You can go to the site striders.in, so they are all over the place. There's another group, by a coach whom I particularly know very well, called Run India Run, Samson Sequeira. So they have groups all over the place. There are running groups that are led by a single trainer, like Sambio is a coach in South Bombay, Raj Vadgama is a coach in Northern Bombay. So there are individual coaches who lead their own running race. There are running groups that are not led by coaches. There are just a bunch of runners who run together. They meet regularly and they run together. So the senior ones act as coach to the junior ones, but there is no one coach who gets paid. So this is like a running group as opposed to a training group. But if you come on Facebook, you will find all this information. So my startup is going to consolidate all that information and make a running group directly all over India, and we encourage runners to run with groups, and so that's what my startup is going to do.
And I think it's very interesting to run in a group. I mean, just from a personal experience, my better half and I have been trying to run and start this exercise routine for months, and I have various personal excuses why not, because I'm always caught up with kids in the morning. And finally, he got acquainted with one of the running groups. And there are no complaints, from the last 3 weeks, Run India Run. And
which
he's
where?
They're in Bandra, Juhu. They do 4 areas and 4 times a week. So, I think it really helps. I'm kind of inspired to start it, but I still have my excuses for morning routines. But I think this is a big inspiration for all of us. And a big thank you to Mr. Venkatraman for this. We still have our vegan breakfast there for anyone who wants
So I hope to see you all running one day. Okay. So whenever, if you cross each other, just stop me, say hello. I may or may not remember this, but definitely stop and say hello. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.